So when did tyranny really get kicked off here in this country? Love to get your comments on this. Share it with your friends, ding the bell, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. When did tyranny in America really start? When did the Republican Party stop being a political party that actually had, you know, a set of values and principles and ideas that they were promoting and become basically, you know, organized crime? Some people would suggest that it started with Nixon's treason. Back in 1968, LBJ, his vice president, Hubert Humphrey, was running for president. And LBJ cut a deal with the South and the North Vietnamese to end the war in Vietnam. He had the deal. They were going to announce it in September or October of '68, which, of course, would have made Humphrey the president, would have blown Nixon out of the water. And Nixon got wind of this, and Nixon reached out to the Vietnamese and said, just wait until after the election. I'll give you a better deal. This is from Lyndon Johnson's from the LBJ library. This is the tape of a conversation between Lyndon Johnson and the Republican leader of the Senate, Everett Dirksen.
Well, now, what do you think we ought to do about it? Well, I better get in touch with him, I think, and tell him about it. I think you better tell him that his people are saying to these folks that they oughtn't to go through with this meeting. Now, if they don't go through the meeting, it's not going to be me that's hurt. I think it's going to be whoever's elected, and it'd be my guess him. Yeah. And I think they're making a very serious mistake, and I don't want to say this. Yeah. And you're the only one I'm going to say it to.
Yeah, and later on in that same clip, and I had the wrong clip here, but later on, LBJ, the meeting that he was talking about was the Paris peace talks, and, you know, which the South Vietnamese ended up more or less boycotting, and that was the end of that. And, you know, it's just, this is, you know, and he was saying,
I'm calling you only after talking
hang
to
on
Rusk
just a second
and
here.
all.
Sorry about that. So anyhow, so was it Nixon? Nixon committed treason to become president, used a foreign power to get into the White House. Was that when it started? Well, Nixon ended up leaving office. I mean, Nixon got run out of office. Now, it had to do with the Watergate burglary. We didn't learn about this treason. LBJ took it to his grave. We didn't learn about this until 50 years after LBJ was dead. But we know about it now. Or was it Reagan? When Ronald Reagan cut a deal with the Iranians to hold the hostages so that Jimmy Carter wouldn't become president. President Bani Sadr of Iran has written about that in the Christian Science Monitor. You can Google it right now. Bani-Sadr is his last name. That's he was the president of Iran in 1980, and he wrote an op-ed in the Christian Science Monitor in which he said that, you know, Reagan cut a deal with Khomeini to hold the hostages. He tried to free the hostages. He was elected president in September of 1980 on a platform of freeing the hostages. With 74% of the vote, he won. He went to Khomeini, and Khomeini said, no, we got to deal with Reagan. We're going to hold the hostages until Reagan becomes president, and then he's going to sell us weapons, which is exactly what happened. And who bailed Reagan out on that? And his vice president, George Herbert Walker Bush, who was in on it? It was Bill Barr. As Attorney General in 1992, Bill Barr told George H.W. Bush, pardon Caspar Weinberger, pardon the three guys that Larry Walsh has already gotten convictions against, and pardon, there was one other guy, I forget his name, pardon all five of them. And it shut down the Iran-Contra investigation. That was the end of it. Elliot Abrams got pardoned. No, it was Ollie North was the other guy. Pardon them all. Or was it in 2000 when Jeb Bush committed treason? Now, Jeb Bush was the first one of the three that didn't involve a foreign power. Instead, he went to Texas. Right? He had Catherine Harris get a list of Texas felons and compare that list of Texas felons, more than half of whom were either black or Hispanic. Compare that, and the name pool for African Americans and for Hispanics is much smaller than the name pool for, you know, white people in general. And, you know, I've talked about this in the last couple of days. I won't repeat the whole rant again, but you know, that's what he did. And he compared that with a list of Florida voters, and when they found a bunch of people who had similar names, they didn't even have to match perfectly. Jimmy Johnson and James Q. Johnson and James L. Johnson, they were all the same person. And he pushed somewhere between 20 and 90,000 African Americans off the voting rolls in Florida, depending on whose lawsuit you're believing. And as a result, he got his brother within a few hundred votes of becoming president. Was it that treason? I mean, each one of these, and now you've got Donald Trump. This is the fourth Republican president. As I keep saying, we have not had a legitimately elected Republican president since Dwight Eisenhower. This is the fourth Republican president who used treason to become president. He reached out to a foreign power, in this case it was Russia, and they helped him out. He said, Russia, get those emails, and they sure enough did. And now he's saying, hey, Ukraine, take down Joe Biden's son for me. Oh, and by the way, China, would you do it too? We've got two meetings now that we know. It's a matter of public record that Donald Trump has talked with President Xi of China about Joe Biden's son getting money for his hedge fund from a Chinese investment group, just like Jared Kushner did. But you think Jared Kushner is going to be the topic of conversation? Somehow I doubt it. So when do you think it started?